Okay, man, now silent prayer. Close your eyes. Yes.
Start video ತಟ್ಟುಮಾ
Unmute பண்ணு. Unmute பண்ணு.
I request everyone to mute your mic. Chaitrali, please. Mitra, please. Mitra, mute your mic. Hello, Revan.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Revan.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I welcome Mr. Revant Kumar, who is the resource person of today's webinar. And I also welcome the representatives from management and our principal in their absence. I also welcome our HOD Dr. Anthony PJ for this webinar. I
Thank
also
you.
welcome all the faculties from different colleges and our own Institute. Also, I welcome all the participants of this webinar. Welcome you all once again. Coming to the introduction part of the speaker, Mr. Revan Kumar is having more than 5 years of software industry experience. Previously worked as a senior software engineer at Pegasystems and Mindtree Limited in full stack development. He currently acts as senior research engineer at Harbor Technologies. Revant delivered more than 50 workshops to student and faculty development programs at various engineering colleges, including IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, IIT Hyderabad, BITS Pilani Hyderabad, and NIT Trichy. He also delivered more than 15 online FDPs by mentoring more than 1,000 faculty and students on emerging technologies under premier institutes like IIT Roorkee and IIT Tirupati. Being an expert in emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, digital marketing, and IoT, he is a technologist and business consulting expert in those fields. So, with this introduction about our speaker, I now hand over this session to the speaker of the day, Mr. Revan Kumar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for introduction. First of all, a very good morning to everyone in the meeting, honorable principal and all the faculty members and all my dear participants. Welcome to the webinar on artificial intelligence organized by Harbor Technologies in association with IIT Hyderabad. I will be muting all the participants, and at the end of the webinar, once I will be taking up the questions, I will be giving you permissions to unmute so that we can maintain the decorum of this webinar. Meanwhile, if anybody, any faculty member wants to speak something or wants to say something, I request you to please let me know in the chat area so that I can unmute you so that we can maintain the decorum. Thank you so much for that. So as we just now, sir gave us introduction that this is a webinar on artificial intelligence. So let's get started straightforward. I'm going to share my screen now and we will continue with the presentation. And we are going to talk about the most trending and demanding technology in current era, that is artificial intelligence. So first of all, let me walk through the agenda of this presentation of this webinar. So the agenda is crystal clear and straightforward, simple, that we are going to first of all talk about introduction to artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Why do we need to artificial intelligence? And why are we talking now so much about artificial intelligence? Then we will talk about types of artificial intelligence and the use cases of AI in different sectors. And then three different terminologies very contrasting to each other, a small comparison between all of them, that is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So we will see a comparison, the meaning of all of these three. And then once you are moving towards artificial intelligence, which language you should start if you are a student from non-IT background, or you're a student from school, or you're a student from any sector. Is it good enough for you to start moving towards AI if you don't have any programming language, or how much complicated it's going to be? So which language is easy for you to understand? We'll talk about that. So we are going to talk about Python here. We'll talk about the different libraries of Python. And specifically, we are going to talk about three libraries here: NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. So that's the agenda for this webinar. So let's get started with the first topic. But before we move to AI, the first thing which I want to discuss with everyone is, why do we, need to talk so much about AI now? If you go back 5 years or 10 years back, there was no need, I should say, or I should say, although people were aware, but the demand in the market was not that much high as compared to what we are having demand now. So this technology is not new, that if you are saying that it is a new technology which has initially started, no. If you go long back in 1970s and 80s, long then researchers and scientists, they used to do research, but the source of information gathering was very limited. They used to gather information from articles from newspapers or from, by reading the books, by sharing the thoughts with one another, verbally talking to each other. And they wanted to train the machines just like we train our kids with new thoughts, new languages, new ideas, new concepts. But they were not having proper resources and proper methods available. With the advancement of time, with the change of time and technology, initially in 1956, John McCarthy, he was a professor at Dartmouth. John McCarthy was the person who coined this terminology called artificial intelligence. So people used to think that computer will never match the power of human brain. But now if you see, computers sometimes, in some cases, they work better than the human brains. But back then, we did not have enough data and computational power what we have now. So now with the change of technology, with the advancement of technology, we have got many advanced computational powers, advanced supercomputers, processors, microcontrollers. And along with these, the most important thing we have got now is the data. Around the clock, 24 into 7, throughout the globe, a humongous amount of data is being generated. So scientists want to use that data to train the machines. For example, take a simple example. If you have a young kid at your home, if you want to teach something to your kid, you start using certain things. Like, first of all, you start teaching him sign language when he can't speak. Once he starts to speak, then you start teaching him a language. It can be a local language, native language, or whatever you want. Once he starts speaking language, then you start teaching him certain keywords, certain alphabets, certain numbers. Then you start teaching him mathematical equations and all those things. So the learning process keeps on increasing with the advancement of use of and need of the technology. Similarly, in machines also, scientists want the machine to train, but how they will train? So they will train with the help of data. So earlier we did not had that amount of data which could be used to train the machines to get the perfect output. But now every fraction of second, many gigabytes and petabytes of data is being generated from one particular continent of the world. And there is a statistics I have written here in this slide, which says that 90% of the world data has been generated only in the past 2 years. That means if you talk about the data generation, imagine, just take a simple scenario at your home. If you go 5 years back, only one or two member of your family members were having the mobile phones. But now each of the family member mostly have a smartphone or a smart device. If not mobile phone, they might be having a laptop, they might be having a tablet, they might be having an iPad, they might be having a smart TV, Alexa, Google Home, and many more things. So each one of these smart devices which are connected to internet, they are generating data. And with the help of this data, we are training the machines. And we are creating an intelligence that is made by human beings. That is why it is called as artificial intelligence. We human beings have got natural intelligence, God gifted. But machines we create, human beings create. That's why it's called artificial intelligence. And very soon, with the advancement of technology and with the amount of data which we have, the machine which we called artificial will be less artificial and more intelligent. Now, let's quickly talk about what actually is artificial intelligence. So you will find many definitions on the internet. I have just taken a very simple definition here. AI is the simulation of human intelligence done by machines programmed by us. So the machines need to learn how to reason and do some self-correction. For example, what I'm trying to say with this point is AI means when machines try to mimic the human behavior. That's simply called AI. Whatever you are asking machine to do, you are instructing that particular machine by the set of algorithms written in the particular programming. So using algorithms, we train our machines with the data and ask them to make our task faster and more efficient. And machine learning and deep learning, they are the ways through which we achieve the state of artificial intelligence. Sometimes people are confused that how can we understand this, what is ML, what is DL. So very simple thing which you can keep in your hand is machine learning and deep learning. Using these two technologies, you achieve the state of artificial intelligence. Now the question comes is, how many types of artificial intelligence do we have? Are we categorizing them in a single type of AI? So general classification based upon the capabilities are two. One is narrow AI and one is wide AI. So these classifications are basically done on the basis of capabilities. So narrow AI, what is the meaning of narrow AI? Narrow AI means a system that is designed or trained to do one specific particular task. For example, your Amazon Alexa, Apple Siri, Google Home, all of these devices, they use the concept of narrow AI. Why? Because they are programmed and designed for one specific task. For example, you can't initiate Alexa by saying, hey Google. If you have to initiate Alexa, you will have to say Alexa. There are certain keywords which are designed for them to initiate and invoke. Similarly, if you ask something which is not programmed or fed into the data servers of Alexa or Siri, it will simply say, sorry, no results found. So these systems are actually designed for doing some particular task. It can be one, it can be some group of tasks. Sometimes this narrow AI is also called as weak AI. But when I say weak AI, it does not mean that it is inefficient of doing something. No. Weak AI, it is just a terminology which we use to give it to them. And that means the system is capable enough to do specific task extremely good for what it is designed for. And there are many jobs which are replaced by the machines now, having both pros and cons, of course. For example, if you talk about medical sectors or in manufacturing where we have high temperature weldings and all those things, so they are like an advantage. But on the other hand, they are also a threat to the job of many human beings. So everything comes with an advantage and disadvantage. Now, if this is narrow AI, then what is wide AI? So wide AI is actually, we're talking about a system which has the ability to respond to any unfamiliar task which is not even programmed for that. For example, if you provide any data to the machine for which it is not programmed, then also if machine gives you some response which can be fruitful in any way, then that particular machine is said to possess wide AI. So as of now, it's a fictional terminology, and we don't have any example straight away which I can give you that is using example of wide AI. Whatever example you are seeing around you is an example of narrow AI. So wide AI, if it is into existence, then whatever hypothetical situations we have seen in the movies, that might become true. So till now, wide AI is still being researched properly, and scientists want to make sure that if any machine possesses wide AI, it should not have any threat to the human existence. So just to make sure that there should be no danger to human existence, the scientists wants to take their time and they're doing research on this wide AI. There are many examples of AI. Let's talk about some of the use cases of AI. So if we talk about, so I have taken examples in different sectors here. So first one is about sports. So whenever you open your mobile phone, you start playing with a game and you start playing with computer, then that is actually with the help of some algorithms which are written with the help of AI. We have many machines which are now playing games with the human beings in real time as well. Like here we have an example of a chess champion computer system, that is Deep Blue. Similarly, in agriculture system, we have many implementations of AI. Nowadays, we have smart devices which can help farmers to predict the fertility of the soil, to predict the amount of moisture in the soil, when they should give water to the soil to prevent the water as well. So, and also it is decreasing the human labor. We have many smart and many advanced machines nowadays which are used for different cultivation process. Okay. Similarly, we have applications of AI in defense sectors which are used in rescue missions also. So take an example, recently we had a fire in Amazon forest. So it was very risky to send any human being there to analyze and to try to control that because it was out of control. So we start sending the robots, the drones, so that we can take the analysis and try to bring it under control. And there are many more examples, deep under the water, at high altitude, and many more. And then last but not the least, in healthcare, we have many better examples where we have advanced robots and machines which are doing surgeries and making it more accurate and precise and efficient. Chances of errors are very less. So AI is being used everywhere nowadays. Now the question comes is, okay, we understood AI, everything is fine. Now what are we going to compare these three terminologies? What is the meaning of AI, machine learning, and deep learning? So a very simple comparison, I have kept it short and crisp. If you see this image, so AI is the broader umbrella under which your machine learning and deep learning comes. So to achieve the state of AI, you start digging and learning machine learning. And to achieve the state and to make it more advanced and more better and efficient, you start diving more deep into the concept of deep learning. So they are like subsets of each other. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So whenever you are talking about artificial intelligence, that means you are creating an intelligence which is artificial. Then you are going to talk about machine learning. Using machine learning, you are going to do that. And if you're making it more efficient, more smart, and more advanced, then you are going to take it more deep into deep learning. That is like at a scientific level for more neural networks and all those things. Now the question comes is, how do we train these machines? Okay, we understood that AI means training the machines, and we have two classifications, narrow and wide AI. But the question comes is how do we train these machines? How this AI completely works? So let me give you a very simple example. If I ask you, what is the shape of this image? So many of you will say square. Almost all of you will say square. Why? Because you are analyzing the parameters, like you are seeing how many sides this shape has. Is all the sides closed? Are they perpendicular to each other? Are the sides equal? If all of these conditions satisfy, that means this is a square. For example, if sides would have not been equal, but it has four sides perpendicular and closed, it would have been a rectangle or something other. So we have these parameters on the basis of which we are cross verifying our shape and image. In the same way, we feed this to the machine. We give the data consists of images, for example, and using algorithms, we write these logic that using this algorithm, you have to check this image, this data, and then come out with a result. This is how training a machine works. Now the question comes is how and where do we start? How do we start writing these algorithms and provide this data? How do we do this? So as this is awareness and webinar, so I would like to give you a complete idea with a walk on the edge so that you can understand how the things are done. So the best programming language which we can use for AI is a very risky thing to attempt. There are many languages available. Now, some of you might be knowing C, C++, Java, or any other language. Some of you might don't know anything. You are completely new. Some of you are not at all familiar with programming languages and you are not interested also. It's very complicated for you to understand. So is it the right field for you? So all of these questions can be answered at a single page. That is, we have many languages, but out of those, Python is one of the most widely used language for machine learning. And when I say machine learning, of course, I'm talking about AI. The rivalry of Python is, of course, R. That is also used, but that is specifically used for data analysis. And there are many more languages, but most of them are used for different purpose. So if you talk about Python, so we are mostly using Python for machine learning. Now the question which might come to your mind is why Python? Why are we using Python? Why can't we use any other language? So the answer is, first of all, let me tell you what actually is Python. So Python is a most widely used, interpreted, object-oriented, and high-level programming language with dynamic semantics, which are used for general purpose programming. So when I say dynamic semantics, that means it can be compatible with different languages as well. It includes the concept of object oriented. It's a high level programming language. It's an interpreted, not a compiler. So it's like a human readable language. It's easy to understand. Just like we human beings talk, that is what this programming language is. And the name of this language came from the old BBC television comedy series called Monty Python's Flying Circus. So the founder of this language, that was Guido von Rossum, he was very much fond of watching this series. So he initially decided to go with this name, and then everybody liked this name, and then he licensed this name. Now question is, what makes Python special? Why are we using Python for AI? So Python is easy to learn, it's easy to teach, it's easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to obtain, install, and deploy. As I have been giving a stress on this, that Python is very easy to understand and easy to learn. So it's just like a human readable language, unlike other programming languages where you have to remember many syntax and all those things. Here it is very easy to remember. And it is one of the fastest growing language. So when I say fastest growing language, in terms of developers, you are using it. So most of the developers nowadays are using Python. If you talk about the libraries, most of the libraries which we have for AI and machine learning are actually available in Python only. Most of the companies nowadays are using Python for their development. And there are many areas where you can implement it. So these are some of the reasons that why Python is one of the fastest growing language and why you should consider Python. Now the question is, okay, boss, I am deciding to go with Python. Now what in Python? So we have a small history of Python. Initially, Python started from Python version 1. Python 0.x version was publicly available. It was into only research. Publicly available was from Python 1.0 that started in January 1994. Till 2018, the latest version was Python 3.7, but now we have 2020 Python 3.8. That's the latest version. Of course, everything comes with a new thing and they keep on changing. But one thing is very beautiful in Python and also sometimes very challenging is Python is not backward compatible. That means a program which you write in Python 3 might not easily work in Python 2 versions. You will have to cross verify some syntax, some functions, some libraries, and some modules as well. So this is the only programming language as of now, which I think, as from my knowledge, as C and Java, they all are backward compatible, but Python is not backward compatible. Okay, so of course you should go with Python 3 version. Of course, anyone is fine. So Python 3, when I say I am referring to Python 3.0 to Python 3.8, any of them is okay. All of them are compatible with backward. But if you say Python 3.0 to compare with Python 2.6, no, it's not possible. We have now let's talk about what is the role of Python in AI. How we are going to use it. Let's say that you understood the basics of Python, you have learned the Python basics, you know about the basic syntax, how to use it, how to write a program, and how to do this. Now, how you can use it in AI. So when we talk about using it in AI, then we are referring to the libraries of machine learning. So we have many libraries which we use for machine learning, which are written in Python. So some of them are mentioned here, like NumPy, numerical Python, SciPy, scientific Python, Pandas, scikit-learn, and matplotlib. A small brief about all of them is written here, that NumPy contains the modules for array and matrix processing. So whenever you are using a group of values and all those things, then we use for that NumPy, all numerical mathematical calculations. SciPy is used basically for scientific calculations. So here we're talking about pure mathematics like linear algebra, integration, statistics, optimization, and all those things. Pandas is a very important library which is used for playing with the data wrangling, data aggregation, data manipulation, data visualization, data munging, data slicing, data concatenation. All of these things can be done using Pandas. Then we have scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is basically used for data mining and data analysis. So why are we talking about data a lot? So as I told you, when you are talking about creating an AI, first thing is you need data. After data, you need algorithms. Now, it's not that you can use any data. The data should be properly managed. It should be properly arranged, should be a proper filtered data. So those cleaning of data, mining of data, analysis of data is a very initial step. So for that, we use libraries like Pandas, scikit-learn. So once we have proper data, then we move to NumPy and SciPy libraries. We create our algorithms, and then we start creating a model which we train using our different types of algorithms available in machine learning. At last, we have a library called matplotlib, one of the very interesting library, which is basically used for visualizing the data in the form of charts and graphs. Let's quickly understand about some of these libraries as a part of the agenda of this webinar. First of all, NumPy. So as I told you, NumPy stands for numerical Python. It is a core library which we use for scientific computing, and it is basically used for computing your dimensional arrays. It can be multidimensional, single dimensional, or bidirectional, and so on. It is also useful sometimes in linear algebra, random number capabilities, and etc. So one thing which you have to make sure is, guys, if you are moving towards AI and machine learning, you are going to interact with mathematics again. So mathematics which you long back, which you left in class 11th, 12th, 10th, now you are going to get it back again. All your algebra equations, your statistics are going to bounce back, and they are going to help you to create the algorithms. So all mathematical concepts are basically done by using NumPy. Then we have Pandas. So as I told you, Pandas is basically used for data manipulation, data analysis, data cleaning. Any format of data. It is compatible with any format of data. For example, tabular data, which are not homogeneous, can have heterogeneous columns. Ordered and unordered time series data. Matrix data, which are having rows and columns as the labels. Unlabeled data, which are not having any labels, just like unstructured data, or any other form of data. All of the data, any data sets can be analyzed, can be cleaned, can be filtered by using Pandas. And that is why it is a very, very important library. And initially we start using it because first of all, we want to make sure that our data is good enough to work on it. So these are some operations you can use with Pandas. You can do slicing with the pandas. So for example, if you have a very big data, but you only need some particular data to do testing. So instead of using the entire data, you can slice and use some specific data. Merging and joining, you can merge two different data together. You can concatenate two different values together. You can change the index. Index is like serial numbers, which we use the concept in machine learning. So you can change the index of the data. You can change the column headers. For example, if you're a student, if you are managing the data of college, you will be having headers like student name, address, branch, semester, score of each subject, and blah, blah, blah. So you can change the headers of each one of them individually by just using the pandas library. And then at last but not the least, data merging. That is basically converting one format of data to other format of data. For example, you are having a .csv file, you can convert it to other format of data, to .txt or .xls and so on. So all of these data operations can be done and should be done and are done actually by using pandas. Then at last we talk about another library that is called matplotlib. So as I told you, human mind is actually easy to understand when you see data in the form of picture and graphs. For example, if you're having an Excel file which are having a score of the entire school or college, how many students score more than 70, more than 60, less than 50. If you want to do all these analysis, it's very much complicated to do on Excel. But the same format of data, if it is represented in form of graphs, easily you can analyze that how many students have scored this, who is the highest, lowest, what are the different factors which are influencing the productivity of the students, and so on. So whenever we are doing data analysis, we use this matplotlib library to plot our data in the form of graphs and pictures and to analyze them in the more better way. So these are some of the libraries which we use. Apart from this, we have many more libraries which are done. So initially, when you are starting to learn Python, you can simply start with the IDLE that is recommended for the beginners, where you can start learning with the basics of Python. Once you have done with the basics, then you can use platforms like Anaconda, PyCharm, Jupyter Notebooks, which are advanced platforms which contains many libraries, which makes your task very simple and easy. So let me just show you the environment of one of the platforms like Anaconda. Let me share my entire screen. So one thing is you can use simple IDLE. You can simply install it and you can start directly running on the shell and start learning Python. Okay, so as you can see, this is the latest version 3.8.3 and they keep on updating it. Or else you can use Anaconda, which contains many notebooks like Jupyter and Spider, Jupyter Lab. So we have many tools already installed on this. You just need to launch it and start using them. Okay, we also have a tool for R here. Apart from this, so what happens whenever you install these, let me show you the libraries where they are installed. So for example, if I go to my operating system and where I have installed these softwares. So if you see here, we have folders like lib and packages. So if I go to packages, here all the libraries are installed with the Anaconda. So if I read all of them, almost 606 libraries are installed. So it makes my task more simple and easy. So some of them which I have mentioned in my webinar, like for example, I mentioned matplotlib. You can see here matplotlib. Then NumPy. We have NumPy. Then we have pandas. Pandas. Similarly, if you scroll it down in alphabetical order, if you see, you will be having many more libraries. You also have it for SQLite if you are creating the database, and scikit, scipy, and so on. So these are initially done by using Anaconda. But on the other hand, if you simply install Python and start moving towards machine learning, so what happens in that case? Let me just show you. limited libraries are installed. So here in Python, if you see live, we have limited libraries. So if I read all of them, only around 200 files are here. Out of these, we have many files and many libraries. Okay. So here you see, we have to manually install the libraries one by one. Like some of them comes pre-installed, like tkinter, SQLite 3. If it is not, you might have to install it. HTML, virtual environment, unit testing modules, and so on. Okay. So you will have to deal with these libraries and take help of this. Whenever you start writing Python codes, you initially start creating a .py file, and you start writing your Python program. And then using that, you start writing your algorithms. And then after creating your algorithms and having your data sets, you start creating your model, which will go to give you the output whenever you give input to any new data. So this was the entire flow, how you can start learning and exploring the world of artificial intelligence. So that's all from my end, guys. Now I will be happy enough to answer your questions. If you have, you can put your question in the chat area. I will be happy to answer them if you have any doubts or if you want to discuss anything. Meanwhile, if somebody wants, can unmute yourself and directly speak to me in case if somebody wants to speak something. Any questions from anyone regarding anything which we have discussed or anything what was our agenda for this webinar? Any student, any participant, any faculty members, respective HODs or any respective faculty member and principal, sir, I would be happy to answer them. So along with this information, let me pass you one more information. Harbour Technologies is also organizing one training program for 12 to 14 hours. So those who are interested to start learning Python and start moving towards creating an algorithm and train your machines, you can enroll for this training program. The training program will be for 12 to 14 hours. It will be mostly in the evening so that your regular any lectures or classes should not be hampered. So if you are interested, you just have to make sure that you fulfill this prerequisite. You should be having minimum 4 GB of RAM in a computer. Less than 4 GB of RAM is not recommended to come for the training. Of course, operating system Windows is recommended 7, 8 or 10. If you have Mac or Linux, that's also okay, but recommended is Windows. And of course, self-understood, good internet connection. So anybody is interested to go for this? Yes, sir, please.
Just a second. Can you just enable the chat box?
Chat box is enabled, sir. Oh, sorry.
No.
Yeah, it's enabled now.
Thank you. Just a second, Raymond. I'll be posting the feedback link over here in the chat box.
Definitely,
All the
sir.
participants, I request you to kindly revert back to the feedback. Yeah, Raymond, carry on.
Yeah, thank you for that, sir. So if you want anyone to enroll for this training, it's not mandatory for anyone. It's your call. It's just after this webinar, if you're interested to explore this world and you need a guidance, then the highlights of this training are straightforward. You will be having more practical, less theory, 90% practical, 10% theory, because we believe the more you move your fingers on the keyboard, the more you understand. And of course, the parts focus will be on each participant, and the trainer will be guiding you with all the softwares and materials which we will use in the training program. And at the end of the training, he will be also guiding you for the future advanced courses which will help you in your career. Okay. And of course, IIT Hyderabad Elan Vision Association certification will also be given to each enrolled participant. So we will be starting this training possibly after 10th or 15th of August. So those who are interested, they can simply contact this person Manisha on this number. She will be happy to help you and guide you with the registration process. Or you can drop a mail as well on this email ID. Now I will be requesting again to any participant, if you have any questions, if you want to discuss anything regarding the agenda, regarding the topics, whatever we have discussed in last 45 minutes, I will be happy to answer them. Yes, Ashish, you will have to pay for training program for 14 hours, only an amount of 999. That's only the amount. No hidden charges. That's the only amount which they're charging for certification from IIT Hyderabad. Apart from that, there is no other charge. Thank you, sir, for sharing the link. I request all the participants, as sir said, please do full the feedback link.
I hope there are no more questions. Any questions, you can please post it.
So Karthik, Sophia robot is also an example of narrow AI. Sophia robot is not capable of doing anything which a human brain can do. It is also having a limited data. So Sophia robot or Neo robot or any other robot, whatever example you want, any humanoid robot, they're all the examples of narrow AI. As I told you, wide AI is still a fictional terminology, but yeah, the day is not far away when it will be into the picture.
So there is one question regarding the certificate from Pooja.
For this class, I am not sure regarding any certificate. That
No,
sir will
this
be
is, I
the right
think,
person to help you. Yeah.
yeah, this we will be providing.
Okay.
Webinar, we will
So
be providing
yes, so sir will be
e-certificates.
providing the certificate for this webinar.
So I hope there are no more questions. So I feel it's the time to close up the session. As a closing note, I would sincerely thank Mr. Revant Kumar, Senior Research Engineer, Harbour Technologies. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing knowledge regarding artificial intelligence to all the participants. It was a nice presentation and a good knowledge sharing session. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. Thank you so much.
Meanwhile, I thank Harbour Technologies too for arranging this webinar. Also, I would like to thank our management and principal in their absences, and I would like to thank our support, Mr. Dr. Anthony PJ, HOD Computer Science. Thank you so much, sir, for your support and guidance.
Thank you.
Also, I thank all the participants, faculty members, students uh, from our college and other different colleges. Thanks to all the participants who took part in this session. Thank you so much, everyone. And you all will have to share the feedback with us. And thereafter, you're going to receive the e-certificate for attending this webinar. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin, for coordinating this webinar.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then. So thank you everyone for giving your precious time to me.
Thank you.
It was really a wonderful time to share my knowledge and my thoughts with everyone. Take care, stay safe, stay inside, enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.
Thanks, Raven. Thanks. Bye bye.